Have you ever heard of a queen whose beauty was so legendary, yet her origins were so terrifying that even kings whispered she might not be fully human? History remembers her as the Queen of Sheba, but in the Islamic tradition, she is known as Bilqis. She ruled the kingdom of unimaginable wealth, stretching from the spicy sands of South Arabia to the coasts of Africa. But there is a darker, more mysterious shadow hanging over her legacy. Ancient legends and whispers from the past claim that she was born of a forbidden union, that she was half human and half jinn. Could this be true? Could a powerful monarch actually possess the blood of the smokeless fire? And why did Prophet Solomon, the man who commanded the winds and enslaved the demons, feel the need to test her in such a peculiar way? Imagine a ruler who bowed to the sun, a woman who possessed everything the world could offer, yet was trapped in a beautiful illusion. This is not just a story of kings and queens. It is a saga of magic, espionage, clashing empires, and the ultimate search for truth. How did a tiny, fragile bird change the fate of an entire nation? What secret did Prophet Sulaiman know about her that led him to build a palace made entirely of crystal glass just to look at her legs? Was he looking for a flaw, or was he checking for the telltale sign of a jinn? Stay with us until the very end of this video, because the truth about Queen Balqis might shatter everything you thought you knew about history's most mysterious queen. Welcome to Islamic Light Stories TV, where we uncover the hidden gems of the past.
By the grace of
if
the
you are
Almighty,
ready to journey into the
I have
world
reached
of
a
miracles
decision
and
concerning
mysteries,
this dispute.
let's begin.
Path is pleasing.
The story does not
Embrace your
start in a
power.
golden palace,
They
but in the
cannot deny
skies.
you what
It begins with the greatest army the earth has ever trembled beneath. Prophet Sulaiman was not just a king, he was a ruler gifted with authority that no human had before or will have after. When he marched, the world held its breath. His legions were not merely men with swords. His ranks were filled with jinn, beings of fire who could dive into the deepest oceans and construct massive citadels in days. Above him, clouds of birds would fly in formation to shade him from the sun, and wild beasts, lions and tigers, marched alongside his cavalry. Even the wind itself was his chariot, carrying him a month's journey in a single morning. One day, amidst this grand display of power, Prophet Sulaiman conducted a military inspection. His eyes, sharp and discerning, scanned the ranks of the birds. He noticed a gap. A small, seemingly insignificant soldier was missing. It was the Hoopoe bird, known as Hudhud. In a display of strict discipline, Sulaiman declared that unless this bird had a valid excuse for its absence, it would face severe punishment. This moment teaches us that even in the greatest of empires, every individual has a role. An absence without cause disrupts the harmony of the whole. But where was the Hudhud? Far away, across desolate deserts and rolling dunes, the tiny bird was witnessing something that would shake the foundation of Sulaiman's prophetic mission. The bird had flown to the land of Sheba, a civilization flourishing in Yemen. There, the Hudhud saw a kingdom drowning in luxury. They had dams, lush gardens, and immense wealth. But what shocked the bird was not their gold, but their soul. He saw a woman, a queen of striking presence, sitting on a magnificent throne, a throne so grand it symbolized her absolute power. Yet when the sun rose, she and her entire nation fell prostrate. They worshipped a ball of fire in the sky instead of the creator who ignited it. The Hudhud, trembling with the weight of this intelligence, flew back as fast as his wings could carry him. He arrived just as Sulaiman's anger was peaking. The bird, knowing the stakes, spoke with the eloquence of a seasoned diplomat. He said, "I have encompassed knowledge that you have not, and I have come to you from Saba with certain news." The bird described the queen, her mighty throne, and the tragedy of her
Which of
people
you
being misled
can
by
bring me her
Shaitan,
throne?
who had made their sun worship seem righteous to them. Suleiman, being a wise judge, did not immediately believe the bird nor punish him. He simply said, "We shall see whether you speak the truth or if you are of the liars." This brings us to a pivotal moment in history. Suleiman wrote a letter. It was not a long scroll of threats, but a concise, powerful message that began with the most beautiful phrase in existence. Bismillahir-Rahman-ir-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. He demanded that they not be arrogant and come to him in submission to the one God. He sealed it and commanded the bird to drop it onto the queen's lap. Imagine the scene in the palace of Saba. Queen Balqis was asleep in her secure chambers, doors locked, guards vigilant, no human could enter. Yet she awoke to find a sealed parchment on her chest. The intrusion terrified her. How could someone breach her sanctuary? She opened the letter, and her trembling hands held the words of a prophet. This was not a request, it was a summons. Queen Balqis was no ordinary ruler. She was a woman of high intellect and diplomacy. She immediately summoned her council, the generals, the elders, the warlords. She read them the letter. The reaction of the room was predictable. The generals puffed out their chests, reminding her of their formidable military strength. They declared, "We are men of great strength and great military might." They wanted to march on Suleiman, to crush this upstart king who dared to command them. But Balqis possessed a wisdom they lacked. She knew that kings, when they invade, corrupt the land and humiliate their nobles. She did not want bloodshed. She wanted to understand who she was dealing with. Was this a worldly king hungry for taxes and land, or was this a prophet of God? She devised a test. She told her advisors, "I will send him a gift. If he accepts it, he is a king, and we will fight him or buy him off. But if he rejects it, he is a prophet, and we must follow him." The gift was not a mere basket of fruit. Legends say she prepared a caravan laden with gold, precious jewels, and distinct puzzles meant to test his wisdom. She sent her most astute messengers to observe him. She wanted to know the source of his power. When the messengers of Saba arrived at the borders of Suleiman's kingdom, their hearts sank. They expected a rival kingdom. What they found was a dominion that defied logic. As they traveled, they saw creatures they couldn't name. They saw animals working in unison with men. They saw wealth that made their own gold gifts look like dust. When they finally stood before Suleiman, he did not look at their treasures with greed. He looked at them with pity. He asked the messengers, "Do you provide me with wealth? But what Allah has given me is better than what He has given you." He rejected their bribery. Then he gave them a glimpse of true power. He pointed to his army, rows of disciplined soldiers, fierce beasts, and the terrifying, invisible presence of the Jinn. He told the messengers to return and warn their queen. "I will surely come to them with soldiers that they cannot resist, and I will drive them out in humiliation." The messengers, pale and shaken, returned to Balqis. They described a king whose floor was not tiled with gold, but who commanded the forces of nature. They spoke of the rumors regarding his control of the unseen world. Balqis realized that war would be suicide. She had to meet this man. She had to see this prophet for herself. Now we approach the heart of the mystery. While Balqis traveled across the desert to meet him, Suleiman sat with his court. He wanted to show her a miracle, something that would dismantle her pride and prove that his power was not magic, but divine favor. He asked his council, "Which of you can bring her throne before she comes to me in submission?" This was the same massive throne she had locked away in her safest citadel back in Yemen. A powerful Ifrit from among the Jinns stood up. These creatures are known for their brute strength and speed. The Ifrit boasted, "I will bring it to you before you rise from your place," essentially before the meeting ended. It was an impressive offer. But then, a man who possessed knowledge of the book, scholars say his name was Asif bin Barkia, spoke up. He said, "I will bring it to you before your glance returns to you," in the blink of an eye. And suddenly, there it was. The massive golden throne of Sheba settled before Sulaiman. This brings up a fascinating question for us today. How is such teleportation possible? It signifies that spiritual knowledge and connection to Allah supersede even the supernatural strength of the jinn. Sulaiman ordered the throne to be disguised slightly. He wanted to test her intelligence. When she arrived, would she recognize it? But there was another test Sulaiman was preparing, one fueled by the whispers surrounding the queen. The jinn were terrified of Bilqis. They feared that if Sulaiman married her, their offspring would be even more powerful, and the jinn would remain enslaved forever. So they spread a rumor. Bilqis has the legs of a donkey, or in some versions, she has hairy legs like a jinn. They wanted to disgust Sulaiman. To verify this and
so
simultaneously
the
humble
earth
her,
was calculated
Sulaiman
with
ordered the
great
construction of a specific palace court. He commanded the jinn to build a floor made of pure, crystal-clear glass with water flowing underneath it, filled with swimming fish. When Queen Balqis finally arrived, she was already shaken.
Indeed,
She
the
had
heart
seen
finds
her own
peace
throne transported instantly across nations, and she had recognized it, proving her sharp wit. But now she was asked to enter the palace. She looked at the entrance and saw what appeared to be a deep pool of water. Not wanting to ruin her royal garments, she instinctively lifted the hem of her dress to wade through. In that split second, the truth was revealed. As she lifted her dress, Sulaiman saw her ankles. They were human. They were normal. The rumors of the jinn were lies fabricated by the envious demons. Sulaiman immediately called out, "It is a palace paved smooth with crystals." She was not stepping into water. She was stepping onto a masterpiece of architecture that played with perception. This moment was the breaking point for the queen. It wasn't just embarrassment, it was an epiphany. She realized that just as she had mistaken the glass for water, she had mistaken the sun for God. She had been looking at the reflection, the creation, and missing the reality, the creator. She had been judging power by gold and armies, but here was power that controlled light, sight, and matter. The intelligence of Bilqis is what saved her. She did not fight the truth when it hit her. She stood there, humbled not by a sword, but with wisdom and a superior reality. She declared, "My lord, indeed I have wronged myself, and I submit with Sulaiman to Allah, Lord of the worlds." She didn't submit to Sulaiman as a conquered subject. She submitted with him to God. It was a partnership of faith.
May you be rewarded.
This story, appearing in the Quran and elaborated upon in history, is vital for us to understand. It challenges the idea that women cannot be powerful leaders. Bilqis was wise, democratic, and saved her people from destruction. It also highlights the limits of the jinn. They can build, dive, and travel fast, but they are liars and deceivers who fear human potential. The rumor of the Jinn Queen was nothing more than a smear campaign by creatures terrified of human unity. But let's dig deeper into the half-Jinn theory that still circulates in folklore today. Why does it persist? Perhaps because humanity has always been fascinated by the idea of the hybrid, the bridge between the clay of man and the fire of the unseen. In Ethiopian traditions, the Kebra Nagast tells a different version where Solomon and Sheba have a son, Menelik, who brings the Ark of the Covenant to Ethiopia. These stories weave a complex tapestry, but the Islamic narrative remains focused on the spiritual victory, the transition from shirk, polytheism, to tawheed, monotheism. The glass palace was not just a trick, it was a metaphor. The world we live in is like that glass floor. It looks like one thing, but the reality is underneath. Bilqis thought the sun was the ultimate power because it was bright and visible, just like she thought the floor was water. Sulaiman taught her to look deeper, to see the structure holding the water, to see the Creator holding the sun. Prophet Sulaiman's kingdom represents the peak of worldly power combined with prophetic humility. He didn't build the glass palace to mock her, but to strip away her illusions. When she lifted her dress, she was stripping away her royal pretenses. When she realized her mistake, she stripped away her false beliefs. It is a story of unveiling. So, was Queen Balqis a jinn? No. The Islamic consensus is that she was a human woman of extraordinary capability. The hair on her legs, if any, was simply natural, human imperfection, which the jinn exaggerated to prevent a political alliance. The brilliance of Sulaiman was in using the jinn's own labor, building the palace, to disprove the jinn's own lies, the rumors about her legs. He used their strength to expose their deception. As we reflect on this incredible narrative, we must ask ourselves, what illusions are we walking on? Are we worshiping the creation instead of the Creator? Are we listening to the whispers of jinn, the negative thoughts and rumors that prevent us from seeing the truth in others? Queen Balqis had the courage to question her entire worldview when presented with evidence. She traveled across dangerous lands to seek the truth. Do we have that same courage? The story of Sulaiman and Balqis is also a lesson in diplomacy. Sulaiman possessed the power to wipe Saba off the map. He could have sent the wind to level their cities or the Ifrit to burn their crops. But he chose a letter. He chose a test. He chose an invitation. He understood that forcing a body to bow is easy, but convincing a heart to submit requires wisdom. He honored her intelligence by engaging with it. He proved his prophethood not just by strength, but by knowledge. The knowledge of the bird, the knowledge of the book, and the knowledge of architecture. The legacy of the Queen of Sheba lives on today. Her people, the Sabians, were master architects who built the great dam of Marib. When they accepted Islam through her, their civilization was blessed. It shows that when leadership is righteous and open to truth, the entire nation benefits. Conversely, had she listened to her warmongering generals, the sands of Yemen would have been soaked in blood, and her name would be forgotten. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history, mystery, and faith. We hope this story has illuminated a new perspective on one of the Quran's most fascinating encounters. There is so much more to uncover in the lives of the prophets and the great women of history. What do you think about the jinn's attempt to sabotage the meeting? And would you have realized the floor was glass? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, please support our efforts. Like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and most importantly, subscribe to Islamic Light Stories TV. Your subscription helps us bring more of these enlightened stories to audiences all over the world. May your heart always be open to the truth, and may your eyes always see past the illusions of this world. Until next time, peace be upon you.